Hi there everyone, welcome back to my channel. A full floral card front is an easy feat with the Craft Your Life project kit. I'll let you in on my design secrets to getting an overflowing card front with minimal effort. This card making tutorial is part of the November 2023 Marvelous Monthly release. Thank you so much for joining me and my crafty friends in sharing our inspiration using the Marvelous Monthly release from Altenew. Make sure to check out the description box for the full list of participants, the materials I used on this card, and how to enter the generous giveaway sponsored by Altenew. I'm using the November 2023 Craft Your Life Project Kit Flourishing Garden. If you're a current subscriber to the Craft Your Life Project Kit, this is what you're getting for November 2023. As always, these kits contain the embossing folder, coordinating die, and by the way, I love that this die set contains the offset sentiment cuts, layering stencil set, and the gorgeous stamp set. To start my card, I need my favorite Neenah Solar White 110-pound cardstock, cut to 6.5 by 7 inches. I'm putting that panel in my Altenew Stampwheel stage. Then I'll align the image to the center of the cardstock, pick up the stamp, and prep the surface for heat embossing. I'm using Versamark Watermark ink as my sticky ink and Brutus Monroe's Gilded as my gold heat embossed outline. With just the sticky matte grid from the stamp wheel, I'll center the heat embossed cardstock with Flourishing Garden outline and temporarily place the cardstock on the sticky mat. Now I'm ready for stenciling, so I'll start with the foliage and stem layers to this image. That's just a matter of preference for me, even though this goes out of sequential stencil order. The base layer for the foliage elements is on stencil number 5, and all I have to do is align the heat embossed outline to the openings on the stencil. Throughout this tutorial, I'll use various combinations of ink found within the Amy Tangerine and Altenew collaboration sets of fresh dye inks. So with the Summer Dreams fresh dye ink bundle, I'll start with a gradient of Berry Cool and Easy Breezy for the leaves and stems. Then I'll use Lemonade Stand to color the flower centers. I'm also using a mix of all my mini ink blending tools from Altenew. Then for the foliage detail layer on stencil number 6, I'm blending Let Us Celebrate, then Peachy Keen for the detail layer of the flower centers. That finishes the non-petal layers, so we'll start with the number 1 stencil to fill in the flowers with some vibrant color. Again, all of these inks are from the Summer Dreams Fresh Dye Ink Bundle. And you'll see I'm coloring 3 separate clusters of flowers in my floral frame. For the first layer of the large rose image, I'm using Tickled Pink to create a saturated blend on the petals. For the top left rows of daisies, I'm coloring them like Rudbeckia or Tick Seed. The base ink I'm using on this image is Lemonade Stand. Then finally, I'm using Silver Lining on the bottom right row of smaller flowers. The product trifold contains all the layering images and registration lines to help with aligning the stencils. You'll notice that some stencils need to be moved to color in other areas of the outline, like this top middle daisy. Then I'll move on to the second coloring stencil. This stencil contains the base layers to the remaining uncolored petals. So again, I'm starting with Lemonade Stand, then moving on to Tickled Pink for one of the roses, Silver Lining for the remainder of the small flowers, then back to Tickled Pink for the rest of the large rose petals. Here's the end result of all the base layers to the flowers. Now let's color the detail layer. We are now on the 3rd coloring stencil, and I'm picking colors that are darker in value in comparison to the base layers. I'll start with Tangerine Dream to deepen the yellow daisies. Then fill in the roses with Cherry Sweet. Then finally, fill the smaller flowers with Be Grateful. The remaining details to finish these flower layers are on the number 4 stencil. The only colors I'll add to this arrangement are Peachy Keen and Tangerine Dream to color the anthers of the roses. Otherwise, I'm following the same schematic. Here's what I have so far. Now is a good time to observe the overall depth in your bouquet. For me, I wanted to add a little bit more drama to the larger roses and yellow daisies. So I'm returning the number 4 stencil to the rose image to add some Be Grateful ink to the center of the rose clusters, just to deepen the petal shadows. And following the same principle for the daisies, I'm using Cherry Sweet to add more drama to the yellow petals. As I showed you earlier, the Craft Your Life project kit comes with the coordinating steel die to cut this large image. Obviously, this bouquet is much too large for an A2 sized panel. I love that because we can make our own framed floral arrangement on the card front and really fill the panel. Here's my creative process for doing so. I like to preserve as much of the main floral elements in groupings. So right here in the top left corner, I have the smaller pink rose and all the purple flowers perfectly nestled in the corner. If I were to cut these out, I still have 3 yellow daisies and the large pink rose to work with. Here's the first grouping I have cut away. Now I can use the straight edges to plan for the next cluster of flowers to fit on the card panel. And by the way, I'm using the A2 alignment grid on the Altenew cutting mat as my guide to help plan this arrangement. I found that if I overlaid the large pink rose on top of the purple ones, I would lose one of the clusters, so I made sure to cut that out and save it on this panel to help fill in other areas of my card front. I can cut away the top 2 daisies and keep the large pink rose and one of the yellow daisies for this top right corner. Then I can use the remaining pieces on the bottom of the cardstock panel. See this small overhang I have on the bottom left corner? I'm going to cut that away and fill in one of the large open white areas of this panel. Now I've successfully used nearly all the elements I've stenciled and colored on this card front. So again, to walk you through this thought process, I'm trying to preserve as much of the large clusters as I can before cutting the Flourishing Garden image apart. Then if segments overlap or overhang on the cardstock, I cut them away and use them to fill open areas of the panel. Make sure you rotate clusters to explore different arrangements and orientations. You may find that some orientations fit better when rotated and placed in a different corner of your panel. So now I'm applying foam tape to the back of these segments and gluing them to an A2 panel of white cardstock. Then I'll cut away these really small bits of overhang from this bouquet so that all 4 sides of the panel are straight. Here's my final trick to getting this panel overflowing and perfect. The Brutus Monroe gilded embossing powder coordinates beautifully with the Gold Pearl Metallic Watercolor from the Altenew Metallic Watercolor pan set. I will add an excessive amount of this gold splatter all over the card front, ensuring I add an adequate amount to the open white spaces you see on the bottom third of the panel. I love how this instantly makes the panel feel full and melts the whole bouquet. I went ahead and glued down my sentiment from die-cut stacks of the offset die. I white heat embossed the greeting sentiment onto a gold mirror cardstock. Then to further fill in the white space, I'll tuck and embellish the background cardstock with satin gold sequins. I think this helps make the background feel more intentional, and you'll see I'm arranging different sizes of sequins within the background. Here's the end result of the final arrangement. You'll see that there isn't just one template to fill your card front with a floral frame. Here's another iteration using the same Flourishing Garden project kit. I used a different mix of colors, but again, all the main floral elements are preserved, and the card front is full of flowers. Hey, thank you so much for checking out my video for the November 2023 Marvelous Monthly Video Hop. Make sure you check out my friends' videos and interact with their channels by liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you checked out my video on designing a full floral flourishing garden card. All the materials I used on today's card can be found in the description box. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again very soon.